This is going to be quite new for me, so bear with me, please. I have done several videos in the past. A bunch of them I had to take down, and as of right now, I only have 3 videos on my account. So it's going to take me some time to get into the habit of and also feeling comfortable doing this. So again, bear with me. My name is Morgan. I am from Ohio, Northeast Ohio area. I am 30 years old, almost 31. And I keep looking down at my notes. I have a fiance named Ash. He works as a nurse at, well, doesn't work as a nurse quite yet. He has in the past. He works at a nursing home as an activities assistant as of right now, but he's looking to grow in his career. I have one daughter. She's 8 years old. She's almost 9. And a little bit about myself. I have ADHD, which is a really big struggle for me. Also, I have fibromyalgia, which is another struggle. I live here with my fiance, my daughter, and my mom. My mom has fibromyalgia and POTS. So she gets dizzy a lot. This is gonna be a very weird thing for me. I'm gonna explain a little more on why doing this would be hard for me. I'm gonna try not to get emotional. See, when people talk about having problems like ADHD, or even sensory issues like somewhere on the spectrum, they talk about the struggles and the difficulties, yes, but nobody talks about the deeper stuff. Not everybody grows up with supportive family, and not everybody grows up with a decent amount of money, okay? I grew up on food stamps. I've grown up on Medicaid and Medicare. I remember a time where me and my sister got to eat and my mom didn't. I remember times when I was pregnant with my daughter and we had to walk everywhere. We had no car. I remember a time where it felt like there was no help. None whatsoever. Nobody to count on. When you grow up on the poorer side of society, over time you start to wonder if the system is even set up for you. We're supposed to live in one of the most dream-filled places in the world. But ask yourselves this: how many people do you see who are homeless? I mean, don't get me wrong, some of them choose to be homeless. But what about the people who are trying so hard to make ends meet? To the point where they're selling things out of their home because at that time they have no option to work. None. When you have to start selling things out of your home just to be able to feed yourself, the world and society is not set up for you. Yeah, there's food stamps. Okay. How many of you can say that your food stamps last from the time you get it until that next month when it reloads? How many of you can say that you can go to the store with that food stamp card in your hand or in your wallet or whatever, and you can buy food, healthy, nutrition food? Now, they give you these things to help, but the second you get a job and you make too much, what do? They kick you off of it because you don't need it any longer. But then you were using that food card to help you. There's not much you can do. Sorry, that was my mom checking to see what I was doing. How can you trust the system to help you when they don't do anything to prove it? You know, I'm gonna do a little shout out to Jasmine Graves. I found her not too long ago on the Reels on Facebook, which I'm assuming those are TikTok videos just uploaded somewhere else. She talks about coming from a background where she only had a food stamp card that could feed her and her kids. And after 7 years of doing social media videos, she was able to pull herself out, her and her family, and have done better. Can't always rely on the system, you guys. Sometimes all you can do is rely on yourself. And I with my ADHD, I go all over the place, so sorry. But, you know, there are so many things wrong with this world. And it's time we all start showing everything. Start pointing it out. Once we start pointing it out and fighting for what's right, that is when the good things will come. I'm gonna go back up a bit and talk about maybe some of my favorite things. Maybe you guys want to hear some of my favorite things. My favorite, one of my favorite things is butterflies. I love butterflies. My favorite color is purple. I like to read, but the only way I like to read is I like to listen and follow along. I don't do too well reading on my own. I have a low reading level. I'm just trying to think. My brain goes all over the place. I think I should talk about the struggles of having ADHD. Having ADHD is the worst mental struggle, I guess you could say. Because you know when things need to get done. Like right now. Okay, right now. I am sitting on my bed and I'm looking around and there's things that need to get done. My fiance's pop can boxes need to be broken down. The blankets need to be folded. And there's dishes that need to be put away. And honestly, there's times where I don't even know why I can't do things. It's just like, it's either my brain is going a million miles per minute with 50 different tabs open and a mixture of forgetting. And on top of that, I have, with my fibromyalgia, my pain's mostly in my back. To think I'm going to be 31 in a couple of months. And I literally feel like I'm my mom's age. I don't like struggling. I don't. Growing up was extra hard for me because I have a slow comprehension process in my brain. I was in special ed classes from start to finish in school. From preschool until like 2nd grade, I was put in the corner all the time. And at one point, they didn't think I could learn. Well, that was the wrong thing to say to my mom at that time. If you have a Gen X parent, you know you know. Oh, I don't know. Like I said, my brain's all over the place. And then, have you ever gotten a problem where you're literally talking and your brain just like cuts off in mid-sentence? It's like your brain doesn't want you to finish what you were saying. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't know. Like I said, guys, it's going to take me a little bit to kind of get in the habit and feel comfortable with all this. In my next video, I think I'll do a video about why this is so hard for me. You know, I'll just do it in this video, actually. Growing up, I grew up in a really small town here in Ohio. From like 5 until like 1 month before my 11th birthday, I lived in this small town, okay? I grew up with my mom and my dad. And I grew up with my older sister until I was 4. And then she went and was living with a relative. And I'll talk about that in another time. My mom, growing up, was extremely patient and understanding. Now, you know, don't get me wrong, my mom had her moments where she was overwhelmed, overstimulated, and was just fed up with how I was acting and would yell. But my dad, on the other hand, my dad was a very angry man. My dad was an alcoholic, and he drank most of my life. I remember wanting to do things with my dad, and whenever I would, he would say something like, go get this tool. It's by the mini fridge on the bench by blank item. And I'll go and look, and I'm like, I don't see it. Or I would forget part of the instruction. And he would get very angry if I wasn't doing it fast enough or sufficient enough. Over time, I just stopped wanting to be around him. I didn't understand why he would always get mad at me for things that I had no control over. He was it was like I could never do anything right. When I was really little, I still had bladder issues. And my dad would yell at me for having accidents that I couldn't help, that I had at the time. Or it was when I was 15, reading a book with it being read to me, and I was following along. You shouldn't be reading like that. You should be reading a real book by yourself. Just read. But I don't think he understood how hard that was to do. So over time, I ended up developing PTSD. And I get upset when I feel like I'm doing something wrong or not right or whatever. To the point where, to me, it feels like people are mad at me, and I don't like it. Because it's like I flash back to being that little kid that was always yelled at by their dad. And then my dad's drinking got so bad to the point where when I was 20, when my mom asked for a divorce. My dad left, went and lived with his mom and his brother. And then that was November of 2014. That December 26th of 2014, my dad was rushed by ambulance to our local hospital. And then he was life-flighted to downtown Cleveland, Ohio, hospital. And he ended up having an infected tooth that turned into a flesh-eating bacteria. And it started eating his skin. And he had to have a skin graft, and it was all the way down. And it went like all the way back and everything. Now, from November to March, so November of 2014 to March of 2027. Now, within that whole time, my mom's fibromyalgia got so bad that she couldn't work anymore. And my dad was no longer living with us. And my dad didn't feel the need to pay for the mortgage payment. And the mortgage payment had been a problem for years to pay because of my dad's drinking. Him having beer was more important than bills getting paid. And then when bills wouldn't get paid, he would get mad at my mom for not paying them. But what was my mom supposed to do? Pull money from an imaginary account? So we ended up finding out that we had to leave. We left. And then from March of 2017 to December, no, sorry, within this time, I haven't spoken to my dad. I haven't spoken to him since he left. So, from November of 2014 until late September to August of 2017, I haven't spoken to my dad in all that time. And in my head, as far as I was concerned, he was the same man I had grown up with. The non-supportive, angry, never patient, I had around late September to October of 2017, I got back in contact with my dad. Because within that time, I had my daughter. My daughter was born September of 2016. And I wanted her to meet her grandfather, so I got back in contact with my dad. And from November of 2017, me and my daughter ended up moving in with him. When I took my daughter to see him for the first time, he was not that man that I grew up with. He ended up quitting drinking, and that says a lot. My dad ended up quitting drinking and was extremely patient and kind. And he ended up being that father I'd always wanted. But from the time I got back in contact with my dad to December 12th of 2017, my dad had gotten a fever. Now, since he had that flesh-eating bacteria, the doctor had told him that, you have any little cut, infection, any little fever, you need to come in. It could be extremely serious. Now, from the time I got in contact with my dad, which was around, like I said, late September into October, he wasn't drinking. And I would know because I know how he is and I know the smell, unfortunately. And he wasn't drinking, but his stomach was extremely swollen. And my dad had a lot of health issues after he had that flesh-eating bacteria. And long story short, he was bleeding internally. And from the time he got admitted into the hospital to December 12th, he was in there for like 2 weeks. And they didn't find what was wrong with him until 3 days before he died. By the time they went in for surgery, my dad had too much of his blood in his abdomen that the second they cut him open, he bled out on the table. So, growing up, with a father who was angry and alcoholic and aggressive and impatient as he was, did not do much for my self-esteem. Or my confidence. But the second I saw him be the father I'd always wanted, to be taken, away so quickly was hard. Because now it's like, you question why. Why couldn't he be like that the whole time? Why was he so angry? Why did it take him so long to get back on the right track, to be taken away so soon? So when you when you grow up in an environment where you feel like everything you do or say isn't to the best of your ability, definitely puts your mindset in a totally different direction. But I'll see you guys for my next video. Hopefully the next one will be a little bit easier for me to do. And hopefully I will have better things to talk about. See you in my next video.